I'll take it off just for tonight, said the giant bride to the shy cowboy. Both had a long night ahead. Her voice rolled low and warm across the lantern-lit barn, carrying the faint scent of hay and wedding roses. She stood 8 feet tall in her bare feet, the white satin of her gown pooling around her like moonlight on a quiet river. The veil, delicate as spider silk, still crowned her dark hair, but her hands, broad, strong, yet careful, were already reaching up to the clasp at her neck. The cowboy, lean and sun-browned, hat clutched against his chest like a shield, watched from the doorway. His boots hadn't made a sound on the straw when he'd slipped in after the reception faded. Everyone else had gone to the house for cake and whiskey, leaving the newlyweds the courtesy of a moment alone. But alone had stretched longer than expected, and now here they were, in the hush of the barn that smelled of horses and old leather and the promise of rain. He swallowed. You don't have to do nothing on my account, Lila. She smiled, slow and knowing, the kind of smile that had made him fall in love with her the first time he'd seen her lift an entire hay bale with one hand while laughing at his dropped jaw. It's not on your account, Jonah. It's on mine. The veil came free with a soft sigh of fabric. She folded it once, twice, and laid it over a stall door like surrendering a flag. Then she turned back to him, taller now without the veil's softening frame, her eyes catching the lantern's gold. He took one step inside, then another, until the warm animal smells in her rosewater wrapped around him. She waited, patient as a mountain. When he was close enough, she reached down, not far, just enough, and brushed a calloused thumb across his cheek. You're shaking, she murmured. Little bit. Good kind or bad kind? He thought about it, honest as always. Good, I think. Just a lot of you to take in. Her laugh was soft thunder. You've been taking me in for 2 years, Jonah Hayes. You asked me to marry you in front of half the county. You danced with me at the reception even though my head near scraped the tent ceiling. That was different, he said. That was daylight and people watching. This is night, she answered. And just us. She took his hat from his nerveless fingers and set it on a hay bale. Then her hands moved to the tiny pearl buttons marching down the front of her gown. One by one, they slipped free. The satin parted like theater curtains. Beneath it she wore nothing but skin and the faint silver stretch marks that traced her hips like lightning frozen mid-flash. Jonah's breath caught hard enough to hurt. He'd seen her in summer dresses, in work shirts and jeans that strained at the seams, in the river swimming strong and laughing. But never like this, offered, deliberate, the full impossible beauty of her without apology or veil. She watched his face while she worked the last buttons. When the gown slid from her shoulders and pooled at her feet, she stepped out of it, naked and unashamed, moonlight from the high window striping her body in silver and shadow. Come here, cowboy, she said gently. He went. His hands found her waist first, both of them barely spanning half the distance, and he pressed his forehead to the warm plane of her stomach. She smelled like roses in clean sweat and something deeper, elemental. Her fingers threaded through his hair, not pulling, just holding. I've wanted this, he whispered against her skin. Every night since the first time you smiled at me. I know, she said. I felt it every time you looked up at me like I hung the moon. He laughed, shaky. You kinda do. She bent, graceful even at her size, and lifted him clean off the ground. Not roughly, never roughly, but easily, as if he weighed nothing more than his hat. His boots left the straw, his arms went around her neck on instinct. Face to face now, her dark eyes filled his world. Bed's too small, she said, nodding toward the tiny loft room they'd been given in the main house. But there's fresh hay up there. She carried him up the ladder one-armed, the other hand steadying them both. He clung to her, heart hammering against her collarbone, feeling the shift of powerful muscle under warm skin. At the top, the hayloft was deep in clean straw, a couple horse blankets spread for softness. Moonlight poured through the open loading door, turning everything silver. She laid him down like something precious, then stretched out beside him, one arm propped so she could look down into his face. Her hair spilled over both of them, a dark river. Tell me if anything's too much, she said seriously. I won't break, but I don't want to break you either. You won't, he said, and meant it. His hands started at her shoulders, tracing the slope of them, the strength coiled there. Down the long line of her arms, the curve where bicep met forearm. She let him explore, breathing slow and steady, eyes half-lidded. When his palms skimmed her breasts, heavy, warm, nipples tightening under his touch, she made a low sound that vibrated through both of them. He kissed her then, rising up on an elbow to reach her mouth. She met him halfway, careful with teeth and tongue, letting him set the pace. The kiss went deep and slow, tasting champagne from the toast and something sweeter that was just her. Clothes came off him slower than hers had, boots first, then shirt buttons fumbling under her patient fingers. When he was bare, she ran her hands over him like memorizing braille, the ridges of ribs, the hollow of his throat, the scar on his shoulder from a bull named Diablo. Every touch reverent. They learned each other in the hay-scented dark. She showed him how to use both hands together on her, how pressure and gentleness could live in the same motion. He discovered the spot just below her ear that made her shiver, the way her thighs trembled when he kissed his way down the inside of one. When his mouth found the heat between her legs, she gripped the blanket beneath them hard enough to tear stitches, but her voice stayed soft, guiding, praising. Later, when he was trembling on the edge, she rolled them carefully so he lay atop her, her thighs parting to cradle him. She was slick and ready, and he slid home in one long, perfect stroke that drew twin groans from them both. For a moment they stayed still, foreheads touching, breathing each other's air. Then she moved, small rolls of her hips at first, letting him feel every inch of connection. His hands braced on her shoulders, hers spanned his back entirely. Rhythm built slow, deliberate, the creak of the loft and their mingled breathing the only sounds in the world. When she came, it was quiet, a long, shuddering exhale against his neck, her body tightening around him in waves. He followed moments later, burying his face in her hair, whispering her name like a prayer. They lay tangled afterward, sweat cooling, moonlight shifting across their skin. Her fingers drew lazy circles on his back. Still good? She asked softly. Better than good, he murmured. Best night of my life. She pressed a kiss to his temple. First of many, Jonah. Outside, an owl called. Inside, the giant bride held her shy cowboy close, both of them drifting toward sleep in the warm hush of hay and each other, the long night stretching sweetly on without end.